Cats, and welcome to the Beach Cow News. This is Casper reporting from Miss Katrina's office. We have a full week of school ahead of us this week. Can we get a hoorah for that full week? Yeah! What, you wasn't feeling it? That means Miss Monica and Miss Lacey will be working hard in the cafeteria, making your breakfast and lunch. So don't forget to say thank you. On Cheesy Monday, you can choose between cheese ravioli and cheese on my brother. It's not safe out here. Let's not talk about it again. Let's not discuss the Monday cheeseburger. On Tuesday, you will find mozzarella breadsticks and pop it up chicken. I forgot the corn. Popcorn chicken. Beans, cheese, and rice bowls are on the menu for Wednesday. Let me hear it. What is on the menu for Thursday? Huh? What you say? That's right. It is pizza day. On Friday, this is a new one. Guess what it is? It looks like Miss Monica and Miss Lacey will be serving roast turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, and a roll. Be sure to thank them when you get your lunch. Now onto the weather. It will be cold all week with highs in the 40s. It does not look like we should have much in the way of rain, but you can never be too certain. So bring a coat. For real. This week, ASU and LSU are meeting. Remember that an Asian Student Union meets on Monday and Latino Student Union meets on Thursday. If your parents have not yet signed up for conferences, make sure to remind them to do so. That looks like this. Mom, Dad, don't forget about conferences. Conferences are next week. Your teachers will be working hard to meet with families for conferences on Monday and Tuesday, which means that there is no school on those days. The break starts on Wednesday, which means students remain off for the rest of the week. That's right. There will not be school for students next week due to conferences and our fall break. This is Casper signing off with Beach Cow News and waiting patiently for Boomer's return.
Every year in November, a story is taught to America's school children. It goes like this. After a harsh winter, the Pilgrims, with the help of a native named Squanto, reaped a successful harvest and celebrated by inviting the local Indians for a friendly feast and started a yearly tradition. Almost every part of this story is historically inaccurate, and it's time to clear up the myths and lies surrounding the story of Thanksgiving. The Pilgrims were an English sect of the Puritans, the separatist Protestant congregation. These Puritans didn't call themselves Pilgrims, didn't come seeking religious freedom, and didn't wear buckle hats. By the time of the Pilgrims' arrival in 1620, 2/3 of Massachusetts' indigenous tribes had already been killed by new diseases brought by British explorers or kidnapped into the European slave trade. Plymouth Rock lay in the center of the territory of the recently extinct Pawtuxet tribe, which had been wiped out by a plague. Upon landfall, one of the first things the Pilgrims did was to rob the graves of the Wampanoag tribe and steal as much of the tribe's winter provisions as they could get their hands on. This caused tension between the Wampanoag, who ruled over Massachusetts, and the Puritans, which continued to increase until 1621 when Massasoit, the leader of the Wampanoags, found it politically advantageous to form an uneasy truce heavily slanted in the Europeans' favor. For the Wampanoags, the alliance was a necessity, which allowed them to focus on fighting off other tribes invading their territory. Squanto, or his real name Tisquantum, was a member of the Pawtuxet tribe whose territory the Pilgrims had colonized. Captured by British slavers 6 years before the arrival of the Pilgrims, he was sold into slavery in Spain, escaped to England, then returned to North America where he worked with British merchants seeking to exploit Newfoundland. He eventually returned to New England to find his entire tribe dead and the Pilgrims living in what had been his tribe's summer village. Tisquantum would become the key for survival of the Puritans as he showed them how to plant and fertilize corn and other native vegetables, where to fish, and how to communicate with natives. The Feast of 1621, which we think of as the first Thanksgiving, was not an annual dinner, but rather a celebration of a successful harvest after a harsh winter. A letter written by one of the 50 Puritans at the dinner, Edward Winslow, recounts that they survived this winter because of the Wampanoags, but didn't see them as equals and didn't invite the natives to the feast. During the celebration, the Puritans fired off muskets and cannons for sport, which put the Wampanoags on full alert. 90 armed natives marched to Plymouth to see what was happening, and they stayed to make sure the British weren't planning anything violent. The eventual feast was not one of thanks and respect, but one of distrust and aggressive action. Another, quote, Thanksgiving would only come 16 years later when the Puritans were celebrating their recent massacre of the Pequot tribe. Yay! Even this wasn't what we think of as Thanksgiving today, but instead a day-long Puritan fast and remembrance of God. The holiday and concept we know as Thanksgiving started in George Washington's 1789 Thanksgiving Proclamation, where the Puritans aren't even mentioned. The holiday wasn't celebrated nationwide until 1863, when Lincoln declared it a national holiday to try to keep the country united. Even the myth about the Indians and the Pilgrims didn't even come about until the 1900s, yet still this story is taught as fact in schools across the country. So, this holiday season, forget about this made-up story of kindly Indians and grateful, friendly Pilgrims, and instead honor the natives of then and now with Native American Heritage Day.